Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. I am Kieran. I am a senior analyst on the Greenie team, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the 2024 Greenie verification report that looks at reporting year 2023 data. So we haven't hosted a webinar like this since 2022, so I can give some of y'all a refresher on what CRS is. So Center for Resource Solutions is an NGO nonprofit with a mission statement in creating policy and market solutions to advance sustainable energy. And we were founded in 1997. Um, so we have a number of different work streams that involve expert assistance, renewable energy and climate policy. We're not a lobbying organization, but we do provide and collaborate with key stakeholders in sort of advancing renewable energy policy. We also have the Renewable Energy Markets Conference that's hosted every year. We have the more information about that at the end of the presentation. And then what you're all here for, the Greenie certification for suppliers and users of renewable energy and carbon offsets. This presentation is only going to be focusing on the Greenie energy portion of the verification report. You can access the climate numbers and the marketplace numbers on our Greenie website. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with the visual representation of our 2023 reporting year. So I'm going to start off with this table that shows our different supply between our different product types here. So the total volume of certified transactions in 2023 was around 140 million megawatt hours. So that includes both retail and wholesale transactions. So a retail transaction is to an end use customer, while a wholesale transaction can go to any person who's not retiring a REC in the market. So, that's your power purchasers, green power purchasers. So that is about 125 million retail megawatt hours and 134 million unique certified megawatt hours. So a unique certified megawatt hour is the addition of any wholesale transactions that were included in the current reporting year. So that was about 8.7 million wholesale transactions that were included. So we have the breakdown between residential and non-residential here, which are our RECs, green pricing, competitive electricity, direct and on-site, which are contracts that are certified like PPAs, and then community choice aggregation. So we had about 608,000 megawatt hours that were RECs sold to residential customers compared to 105 million non-residential. Green pricing, which is the main sort of option for residential customers, was about 5 million megawatt hours compared to non-residential 7 million. 130,000 went to residential in competitive electricity, 105 in CCAs, and we have the megawatt hours there for non-residential customers, and you can see those totaled out there. So we have here the sales by product type for, since 1998, we've been certifying transactions, and that bar on the far right is for 2023. And you can see the breakdown of product type there on the right. So there was about 125 million certified retail transactions in 2023, and that is around a 10% increase from 2022. And that is about a doubling of renewable megawatt hours since around 2016, 2017. So we're seeing still a lot of growth year over year. Getting into the different product types there, REC Sales were about 106 million, which is about a 10% increase from 2022. Um, Green pricing programs also grew by about 13% to 12 million. We're seeing, checking my notes here, after there were some supply constraints for CCA products, they rebounded to back to 1 million MWh, which is about a 23% increase from last year. Competitive electricity products dropped slightly, about 4%, and we saw a 13% increase in direct procurement, which sort of aligns with sort of what we hear in the market. Um, a lot of large buyers tend to start signing up for PPAs in the recent years. So we have the customer type breakdown here, which is showing our commercial, residential, and wholesale breakdown. Sales to residential customers increased slightly by about 3%, and non-residential customers increased as well. Uh, Non-residential customers accounted for about nearly 120 million megawatt hours, so still a vast majority, about 96%. Output from facilities dedicated to specific corporate entities are in the form of PPAs, are also showing a lot of growth, which was about 15. Oh, sorry, that's the wholesale number, which was nearly 15 million megawatt hours. So here we have a breakdown of customers by product type. We saw a 2% increase in the overall customers purchasing retail options this year, getting back to the 2017 uh, amount of customers. You can see that there were a lot of CCAs that were certified in 2019 and 2020, but after some policy changes, they weren't certified. So we're getting back up to what we saw in 2017 after losing a lot of customers in that product type. Um, there was an increase in competitive electricity customers by about 30% to 25,000. And the number of people buying, or the number of entities buying unbundled RECs, increased by about 7% to 404,000 customers. So yeah, still seeing some growth in the number of customers that we certified. Or the receive a certified product. Here's a map of the states that offer a competitive electricity product. So that's about 29 states in the US that offer a competitive electricity product. Uh, Greedy Energy also certifies sales internationally in Chile, Taiwan, and Singapore. So, but all of the numbers that we're seeing today are for the US. And this is a breakdown of the contributions by renewable resource type. So we have wind still taking up a vast majority of the contributions to our certified products at about 78%, but we're still seeing a lot of movement with solar supply. So solar back in 2016 was only around 250,000 megawatt hours, and now we're seeing that we're at 25 million. And even back in 2021, it was only about 11 million. So that's nearly a doubling in about 2 years of certified solar. So solar increased from about 11% in 2021 to 19% of the total output, while non-gaseous biomass, hydro, gaseous biomass, and geothermal have all sort of stayed about the same percentage. And we have the count of unique facilities uh, that were included, that had their supply included in certified transactions. So solar makes up a majority of the facilities that have their supply included in certified products, where wind, of course, is next. We're seeing around 1,250 unique facilities that were used in 2023, with over 100 gigawatts of supplied green energy, um, or those facilities amounted to about 100 gigawatts in capacity. So yeah, from about like 600 or so in 2021, we now have 750 unique solar facilities if we're counting rooftop solar buyback programs as one facility. Those are usually like your aggregated facilities in NAR. Um, and yeah, still plenty of wind. Wind by far still comprises a majority of the overall capacity. So, but if we look at the amount of growth and the percentage that wind has sort of taken over the last, you know, 7 years without wind, we're just seeing it grow more and more. And in 2022 to 2023 alone, you see a huge spike, nearly doubled. So good to see. As I'm sure a lot of you know, only new renewables are eligible to meet Greenie Energy's standard. And that means that, you know, last 15 years, that's our 15-year new date that you hear about. Those are all of the facilities that will be included in a reporting year. So in 2023, we saw about 40% of supply come from facilities 5 years or younger, which is about, par for the course. Back in previous reporting years, sometimes it would be about a third, sometimes it would be over half. This year, it was about 40%. And you can see that in the amount of megawatt hours that were supplied by facilities in this reporting year. So a lot of them coming from 2020, 2021, 2022. And then we're also going to see the capacity as well. So a lot of capacity in 2020 and 2021. If you just want to take a look at this for a bit, you can see that, a lot less capacity from facilities in 2009 to about 2015. And then it starts sort of growing a little bit more and more. So the count of facilities by year of first operation are shown here. It's about 39%. So, and then here we have the top 10 states by retail sales volume here. So these are all the states that are receiving certified products. And Texas and California and Washington always are typically in the top three, while Ohio to Illinois there all sort of remain in that sort of 5 to 3% area. So yeah, 2023 followed the same sort of trend that we've seen where consumption of certified electricity is highest in populated states that are near the coast. And then here is the percent of total customers. So Oregon and California all have successful utility green pricing programs. So that's why you see a large number of customers on the West Coast in Oregon, California, and Washington, with Ohio, Colorado, Texas, all taking their own share. And then this is the top 10 states and provinces that supply certified retail sales. So we still see a large number of our supply coming from Texas and Oklahoma with wind and solar. So yeah, a lot of these facilities sell unbundled RECs throughout the US, seeing as how a lot of places still in the US have some limited access to renewable energy supply. So that goes throughout the country. And we can see here supply on the left versus sales on the right. So you can see here that, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas still take up a huge portion of the supply versus where sales go, which is mainly in, California, Oregon, Washington. You can see even Pennsylvania and Ohio, as well as Texas. And of course, Quebec also, there was a large amount of Quebec, either in wind or hydro. So the key takeaways here are that there was more than 125 million retail megawatt hours that were sold in the green energy program this reporting year of 2023. And that accounts for about 3.2% of the total US retail electricity sales in the US. Um, that's about 11 million more retail megawatt hours sold than in 2022, about 1.3 million purchasers, about 298,000 businesses, 25% increase in direct procurement, and continued increase in solar, of course, with newer renewables driving the market. One of the things that I want to shout out that CRS has been really focused on over the last few years is the Clean Energy Accounting Project. So this is a working group essentially that tackles tricky carbon accounting questions that everybody in the market is trying to solve for. So some topics that are covered in 2025 include hourly, especially for utilities and how to design those products, best practices for power source and emissions disclosure, as well as secondary transactions of hourly certificates. There is advisory committee participation and working group sponsorship. So on the right here, we have a few papers that have been released through CAP, accounting for standard delivered, guidance for supplier, clean electricity, and calculating residual mix. I have the uh, banners for our renewable energy market conference here. So this year it's going to be taking place in Houston at the Hilton America, September 3rd through the 5th. And REM Asia is going to be taking place in Singapore, 29th through the 30th. So if you have any questions after the presentation, happy to answer them. Here's my contact information. And we also have plenty of time for questions that any of you might have during the presentation. So feel free to drop those in the Q&A, and I can give y'all a second to start typing them out. Yeah, we have two right now that I can probably get to. Gaseous and non-gaseous biomass facilities have different sort of supply intakes. So while I myself haven't really analyzed a lot of gaseous biomass, it's a lot less common than non-gaseous biomass. Our Greenie Energy Standard sort of lays out the difference between the two and the different feedstocks. Non-gaseous biomass includes a lot of like wood waste and things that have less of an impact than certain feedstocks on the market. So one of the rules for a non-gaseous biomass facility is, of course, that it can't emit any more than what would be the average of that current electricity grid mix. I probably worded that not so great, but all of that's available on our Greenie Energy Standard. Happy to send that your way after the presentation. So we also have another question here. The number of consumers buying unbundled RECs increased by about 7% to 404,000 customers. How did you estimate this number? Yeah, so we receive customer data of the number of customers that a product was sold to in that year, so we do have that data that's captured. We see non-residential and residential businesses for each product. So that 404,000 number is taken by seeing the amount of REC products that we have that were certified, and then taking the amount of customers that those were sold to. We get all this information during the verification process that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. So yeah, so we essentially receive all of that data from our participants. Raphael asked, does CRS monitor dollars per megawatt hour? We don't receive any pricing information from our participants. A lot, there's some of our participants out there, including some brokers that offer a lot of, like pricing data. I know I've seen Carbone on LinkedIn post a lot of about like rec prices and things like that. So they might be a good resource for you if you wanted to see anything about rec pricing. Um, let's see here. Are you going to start releasing factors for Canada again? That's a good question. I believe upon request, we can send out NERC region specific data. So that's our annual residual mix calculation. Uh, Typically, we've started doing it by EGRID subregion since we saw that that was a smaller sort of a smaller and like more kind of specific factor that you can get. eGrid posts the eGrid subregion data, so we figured that was more specific if people wanted to do their greenhouse gas inventory by eGrid subregion. Um, Sorry, Matt, I'm not sure if I or CRS has really a perspective on how the current administration will affect the price of voluntary recs. We're still seeing like an unprecedented growth in the market, and it's moving quickly. Uh, I don't see why there would be a need to slow that down, but we don't really, have a decision-making process in that. So only time will tell. Um, let's see. If a customer buys different products, bundled or unbundled, are they taking into consideration both categories or the ones that represent the largest volume? Um, that's a good question. Let me think about this one for a second. So, buys different products. Are they taking into yeah, so we do consider most transactions as like one entity. So if a large entity around the country is like purchasing volume in different parts of the country, then we do consider that as like separate transactions. So we also only receive a lot of customer data in aggregate. So we do receive some information about large purchasers, but we mostly see just, the total number of customers that each product had. So that's about the most that we receive. Uh, Jared, yes, we will be posting the slides later. Um, Josh, I can send you more information about um, the CF advisory group and how to join. I believe we'll still have these questions available to us, so I can contact you after. And we have the registration report, so we can send that your way. Um, does California's Voluntary Carbon Market Disclosure Act impact reporting from suppliers in that state? That's a good question, Ken. I'm not exactly sure how it would impact reporting from suppliers. We do receive supplier data, so whenever um, whenever there's a product or a facility that we see as having sold into a product, we do see the person or the entity where they receive those recs. Some people own the facilities, of course, that they're selling from, but I'm not exactly sure how California's Disclosure Act would impact reporting, seeing as how they're probably separate sort of audits. If you want to send me information about, how there would be any impact, we're happy to hear that. I believe that Disclosure Act has only recently sort of been enacted, or I know that there is some California policy in the pipeline. So happy to hear more about that if you want to send anything my way. Um, any insight into GHG protocols upcoming? That's a good question. I feel like well, we have a policy team, Alexis, that sort of releases guidance about certain new either state, federal policy that is on the way. So I could probably direct you to them if you want to reach out here on my email. Yeah, Matt, it was a Carbone with a K. um, Karbone. Um, is there an update on a path forward that you could talk about for participants impacted by the VRE allowance shortfall? So we are trying to see what decision CARB will make. We don't really have any sort of influence in what VRE or CARB is going to choose to do in re-upping their allowances. I am curious myself because I know that there will probably be some impacts to reporting year 2024, but we'll definitely sort of work with our participants who have certified products that will be impacted by that. Um, and, yeah, happy to answer any questions once we get information from them about it. So, um, looks like that's about all we got. So, appreciate your time. We're going to be posting the slides, and if anybody would like to contact me, there's my phone number and email. So, thank you for taking the time, and have a good rest of your day.